We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host. I'm just enjoying my day off. Just woke up from a nap. A nap for you guys. Basically a full night's sleep for me. I work third shift, so you know how that goes. Sleep all day, stay up all night. But yeah, just going to have kind of a chill day off today. I figured I'd do a podcast. I got a couple hours till my wife gets home. And then I got to do some stuff around the house. Pull a dresser upstairs, get it filled. Me and her are going to put a shelf together. Just trying to get the house more put together. Fun. But today we're going to be talking about Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Basically, it was a hospital for people with tuberculosis. A bunch of deaths happened there. A bunch of crazy stuff. But I wanted to cover this specifically because I was looking through a lot of my books and stuff, and I have a book that talks a little bit about it. But it's a local spot for me here in Kentucky. It's in Louisville, Kentucky. So if anyone who's into the paranormal and lives around here locally, they've heard about Waverly Hills. So I don't know. I just thought it's a place that I've always wanted to go to. Sadly, the waiting list for it is like a year long. So that's kind of a bummer. But yeah. I wanted to cover it, though, it being a local place that maybe someday I'll get to visit. But I have a couple accounts from friends, real short accounts that I'll share with you all. 2 friends that I used to bartend with. And the section I found from this book is Amy Bruni and her paranormal investigating partner. Like 2 famous paranormal investigators, kind of their account of the place too. So we'll get on with the show. Alright, so this first story is nothing too crazy, but my buddy's account. His name's Jordan. He's a ride or die homie. Man, he's a cool dude. I used to bartend with him back at Beaumont Inn. Which actually I did an episode on the ghost of Beaumont Inn. I'll try to leave it in a link, but like I said, I'm on a strike from YouTube, so whenever I upload this, hopefully I remember to do that. But he's a pretty cool dude. Like, he was into the same type of stuff that I'm into. Like, he was like real big into Sasquatch, UFOs. He actually has a UFO account, which if I could ever find him again, I went through like a little dark period in my life, and I lost a lot of my phone numbers and stuff like that. You know, just life sometimes sucks and you lose a lot of shit or people, you know. me and him never got in a fight or anything. I just lost touch, you know. But maybe I could get him on here to share him and his brother's UFO account, because it's an amazing account. I think it was around the same area as my 2 UFO accounts, which I've shared on this channel too. I'll try to link it or something, or just look it up in my channel. But yeah, so he was into the same type of stuff: UFOs, ghosts, Sasquatch, you know, paranormal. But he went, and you'll see this as a reoccurring theme with Waverly Hills. They keep all these little rubber balls all around the place, and there's a specific blue one that supposedly a ghost of a little boy like loves this blue ball. Hence why in the title picture, if you are watching on YouTube, if you're not watching on YouTube, you know, go check out the YouTube channel. It's Abe Williams. The profile picture is a sideways Dreamcatcher. So go like and subscribe there, because I do other content besides podcast. But yeah, so they have these little rubber balls everywhere, and they leave them there kind of like for like trigger objects, kind of, because the ghosts that reside in Waverly like to play with them. But there's specifically a little boy ghost who loves this little blue ball. And the story goes is that if you push the ball in a certain room wherever he resides, that he'll push it back. And my buddy Jordan was going with a group, a tour, and there was like this black dude that he was with, and this black dude was like straight up like atheist, like, I don't believe in ghosts. Like the whole time he's like, yeah, this is all fake. I don't believe in none of this. And they got to the room with the little boy, and so my buddy Jordan, like, they gave each person in the group, hey, you can push the ball and the boy will push it back. And my buddy Jordan pushes the ball, and it stops in the middle of the room and comes right back to him, as if like someone who's invisible just stopped it and pushed it back. And yeah, needless to say, the skeptic in the group was like, dude, I can't explain it. Like, the floor is flat. There's no way that this ball would just stop in the middle of it. Like, it stopped as if like it hit a wall and just stopped. And then came back like at a pretty decent speed, as if someone pushed it. So it's not like it just like slowly stopped and then slowly came back. There's my cat in the background being crazy. Did you hear that? But yeah, so that's Jordan's little account. And I do have another girl's account. But I actually have 2 little stories for her, so I'll share those next. But now we get on to this girl called Hannah. Once again, she actually worked with me and Jordan in the same circle at Beaumont Inn. I won't use their last names just in case they're like a little off about it or whatever. But she had an account similar to Jordan's about Waverly Hills Sanatorium. But I'm going to share another account that she had first, a little freebie in there. So she ended up getting an apartment by herself, and she always had like an interest in like the occult and stuff like that, the paranormal. I remember she found out at the time I was doing tarot cards and stuff, and she was real interested in it, and I've always had interest in it. I let her borrow movies like The Raven, you know, and got into the conspiracy on how did Edgar Allan Poe die, and let her borrow, I think I let her borrow like The Conjuring or Mothman prophecies. I let her borrow like paranormal movies here and there, and um, yeah, me and her, like, we'd talk about paranormal and fortune telling and stuff like that. But she got interested and got curious. She got into the Ouija board. So she went and bought one, kind of bored and just wanting to play around with the occult, basically. Um, and as far as I know, I don't really think that there. By the way, we have like 2 Ouija boards in this house, and people are like terrified of Ouija boards. Honestly, me and my wife used them. We didn't really get anything. It moved to like 1 letter, and then that was it. We really didn't. But then again, there's literally like 20 something rules to the Ouija board, and we listened to all the rules. So I really don't think we caught anything, because most of these people with horror stories about a Ouija board, there's like 20 something rules of what not to do with a Ouija board, and people just make them and just play with them, and they have all these horror stories of the Ouija board's evil. No, the Ouija board isn't evil. It's kind of like a telephone. Imagine like a telephone essentially is not evil. My wife just texted me. You probably heard it in the background. She's not a demon. But if I just start calling random numbers, I'm going to run across a psychopath eventually. But as far as I know, I think she ended up doing something like playing with it by herself, which is, breaking a rule. You're not supposed to play with it by yourself. So she essentially opened a portal with this thing and started having all these crazy paranormal experiences. Like, the lights would go on and off around it. So it got to the point where her house she started having such weird phenomenon in her house that she kept it in her car. And I don't remember a whole lot of the phenomenon she was telling me, but I just remember this specific story about the car. That's why I wanted to share it, because it was a good story. But it got so weird that she wouldn't keep it in the house anymore. She's like, I'm just going to leave it in the trunk of my car. So she was telling me at work one night, like, hey, I got this Ouija board. I've been playing with it, but had a bunch of weird stuff go on. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. And she's like, it's in my car. You want to see it? And I'm like, you drive around with it? And she's like, dude, I'm telling you, like, I don't keep it in the house anymore because of weird stuff happening, man. And I'm like, okay. So we went to her trunk and I looked at it. I didn't really touch it. I was too freaked out. And then she's like, yeah, but I do have a story to tell you. And I was single at the time and didn't have any plans after work. So I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I don't care to chill in the parking lot with you while you tell me this story. I have nowhere to be. So I light up a cigarette and she starts telling me, yeah, so I had all this weird phenomenon go on at my house. I got too creeped out. So I left it in the car. She said, I got home from work the other night, parked the car, took the keys out, unlocked the door to my house, got in my apartment, and I don't know, I'm just sitting there on the couch, and next thing I know, my car lights start flashing. Like, the actual external lights start flashing. And she's like, well, like, I don't hear any honking though, so it's not my car alarm. And I didn't set a car alarm, so what's going on? So she steps out of the door and she's like, oh, maybe I left the keys in it. So she's like walking to the car, halfway to the car, and realizes, no, the keys aren't in it because I had to take the keys out to unlock the house. So, yeah, no keys in the ignition, Ouija board in the trunk, car lights are flashing. I I thought that was wild, though. That was one of her stories, and I wanted to share it with you all while it was on my mind while I was talking about her specifically. But as far as like her Waverly Hills Sanatorium story, it basically essentially was pretty similar to Jordan's about the little ghost boy with the blue ball. Um, but her tour was a little more relaxed. I don't know if she paid a higher fee or whatever. They weren't. She wasn't really on a time limit. Um, I think she did probably like a day tour to where she could just hang out there as long as she wanted. Um, well, not as long as she wanted because they eventually your tour runs out of time. But I think it was kind of like a tour where you just like, hey, I want to go to Waverly for 5 hours or 4 hours or whatever and do my own investigation. You still have to buy tickets and stuff, but so she went to the room with the little boy and basically played back and forth, rolling the ball with this little ghost boy. And she said, I was like, so what did it do? Did it only do it like once or twice? And she's like, no, I spent about 15 minutes in the room with this entity just rolling the ball back and forth about 15 minutes, several times, you know. And I tried to debunk it, being skeptical and everything, and same thing. Like it was, there's no way that it could have like stopped in the middle of the room and rolled back. The floor wasn't leaning. I mean, it was like an invisible wall would stop it and push it back. But those are my two friends' accounts on Waverly Hill. And I will share Amy Bruni and her partner in crime, their little account. And we'll wrap up the episode as far as Waverly Hills. So this is On Location, Waverly Hills Sanatorium. With nearly a century's worth of history, caring for the infirmed and elderly, the sanatorium has its share of restless spirits. Much like several other haunted places, Amy Bruni and Adam Berry have investigated together. Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Louisville, Kentucky, originally opened to help people. The facility was meant to serve the needs of tuberculosis patients at the beginning of the 20th century. The original two-story building was designed to accommodate no more than 50 people. But as the highly contagious disease spread, demand for care grew. By 1926, a much more expansive sanatorium designed in the collegiate Gothic style was built to house 400 patients comfortably. A cure for TB was finally discovered in the late 1940s, and Waverly Hills thrived until 1961. It then transitioned to care for geriatric patients until it was closed by the state in 1981. Targeted by vandals, the building gradually fell into an extreme state of despair. So it definitely made it creepier looking. In 2001, Waverly Hills was purchased by preservationist Charles and Tita Mattingly, who had taken pains to restore the sanatorium to its former glory. The self-described paranormal enthusiasts are also attuned to the history of the building, offering visitors the chance to engage with the ghosts that wander its hallways through guided tours and an annual haunted house fundraiser. The site holds significance for Bruni, who visited the former sanatorium in her early days as a professional ghost hunter. Though Barry, too, has had notable encounters inside its walls, interacting with the spirits of Waverly Hills staff that once cared for the ill and infirmed. Amy Bruni says, I investigated Waverly Hills years ago and it was where I got one of my first real great EVPs. It really opened a lot of doors for me. And when we were there, we started questioning what a ghost really is. During the investigation, I decided to take off by myself. I got very brave. I was walking down this hallway and I was telling myself, just go into that room. Just go in to any room that calls you. When I walked by this room, I got this vibe, so I entered. I sat by myself and started the recorder. I was asking questions and then I left. Now that I am a bit more experienced, I always listen to my recordings. That's true, by the way. There's so many times I was like, man, we didn't catch nothing, and then turns out we catch an orb on film or an EVP on our ghost hunts, which, by the way, is on the YouTube channel. So they're in a playlist too. I always listen to my recordings while I'm still at the location. And Waverly is the main reason why I left. And I was either on the plane ride home or already home in California when I reviewed all my evidence. And the tape goes like this. I'm in the room by myself and I say, is anyone here? Hi, my name is Amy. And you hear a woman's voice ask, where did I go? It's so strange. She doesn't know where she is, and it was so sad. I realized I left her there after she asked the question, and I had no idea. Adam Berry says, that goes along with one of the most profound experiences we've ever had together. We were investigating, and we were in the nurses' wing. Amy and I have an investigative style where we approach every investigation as if we're going into a party. There's no hostility. You just go in and say, hi, this is who we are. We're here to see if you need anything or want anything. It's from a place filled with positivity. So we were investigating in the nurses' wing, and we were like, can you knock somewhere? Can you get our attention? One of the earliest forms of communication that people start using to investigate ghosts was knocking, asking, would you knock on something? And it knocks back. So we said, can you knock somewhere for us? And it knocked back. We kept going to this idea of knocking, and it got so interactive that we could ask it questions. It would knock once for yes and twice for no. I even put my hand on the side of one of the window frames and I said, can you knock next to my hand? And it knocked right next to my hand. We determined that there were about anywhere from 10 to 14 nurses on the floor in that area, and they wanted prayer. We gave it to them. And what was interesting is that they were communicating so much and they were so active. But when they asked for prayer and I said one, there was silence. There was no knocking at all. You could cut the air with a knife at that point. And as soon as we said amen, the knocking started happening again. We had to leave at one point because it got so late. It was 3 or 4 in the morning. Amy and I said, okay, we can come back. We really want to find out who you are and what your names are. And we'll be back, we promise. And as soon as we were leaving, going down the hallway, it was following us, knocking. Didn't it follow you home, Amy? Amy Bruni says, yeah, it did. We got back to the hotel after feeling super guilty about leaving. I remember I laid my head down when the sun was coming up and I heard I heard on the wall, knock, knock, and I was like, I cannot do this right now. But yeah, they wanted to continue the conversation. Adam Berry says, during the same investigation, I saw what looked like an apparition of a nurse to my right. It was out of the corner of my eye, but I distinctly remember that it looked as if she was wearing scrubs of some sort of hospital attire. She was just standing there in the corner. There you have it. There's Amy Bruni and Adam Berry's accounts of their visit at Waverly Hills Sanatorium. I hope you all enjoyed. Like I said, this to me is actually a very famous haunted spot in Kentucky. And where I live in Kentucky, I've wanted to cover this definitely. I would like to go there someday, and I will most definitely film it. Like I said, me and my wife, we do paranormal investigations, so we have a ghost hunting playlist in the YouTube channel. You can check it out. Check out our ghost hunts. But that's about it. That's all she wrote. I hope you all have a good day, and thank you for tuning in.
We are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret society, opposed to secret oaths, opposed to secret proceedings, secret proceedings. No official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.